I started it because I thought it was fun, and I thought we could share that with everybody else. It's really, the only reason it's worked. So one of the main things that Alyssa does is whenever she took over the tasting room manager position, we worked really, really hard on the training program.
Startup Junkie has been improving lives through innovation and entrepreneurship since 2008. Through our vast array of services, programs, events, and resources, we have been able to help develop Northwest Arkansas and beyond, one business at a time. It is with great pleasure that I get to announce our most recent resource, a brand new Startup Junkie podcast series where we grab a drink and talk to some pretty fascinating entrepreneurs and business owners. I'm your host, Daniel Koonce, and this is Business Buzz. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Business Buzz, a new Startup Junkie podcast series where we grab a drink and talk to some pretty cool business owners. I'm your host, Daniel Koonce, and it's with great pleasure that I get to introduce our latest guest, Ben Mills, the founder and owner of Fossil Cove Brewery. Ben, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of like to start these things off. Just kind of tell us your story. How did you come to, I know Fossil Cove's been around for a while. How'd you come to where you are today?
So we started June 2nd of 2012.
Okay.
So we've been around 12 years this coming June. And I honestly started home brewing in college down in Arkansas Tech University in Russellville, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. Started home brewing in undergrad, got accepted to a master brewers program at UC Davis, California, to kind of further my education and turn it into a career. While I was in the middle of going through the school, and I also had a job in Silverton, Colorado at a brewery, we found the original equipment for sale that we started the brewery here with.
Oh, very cool.
Yep. So I bought that in 2010, school in 2011, and then came back between getting out of school at the summer of 2011, and we were open within a year here in Fayetteville.
Yeah, that's very cool. For those who don't know, Northwest Arkansas, there are over, I think, 30 breweries now.
25, 30.
25 to 30, just kind of in the Fayetteville, Rogers, Bentonville area.
Yep.
And they started to kind of pop up early 2010s. Would you consider yourself kind of a pioneer? Like, did you see this happening, or did you just start a brewery because you wanted to start a brewery?
Yeah, so I wouldn't, in the world of brewing, no, I wouldn't call myself a pioneer. In the world of Arkansas brewing, we are one of the oldest ones currently, yep. So back in 2012 when we opened, there was maybe 10 breweries in the state. Yeah. And now 12 years later, we're pushing 50.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So yeah, we just got lucky. We had bought the equipment, graduated high school in Gravette, have a lot of family in the area, and was kind of looking for a way to move back home and still be in the brewing world. And at the time, since there weren't very many breweries, the only way to do it was to open one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of opening a brewery, I know this equipment can be expensive. What did that kind of look like buying that equipment? I know you said you kind of just found it, but like what did it look like price wise?
In the beginning, the original equipment wasn't bad. There was a brewery in Port Townsend, Washington that shut down, and a used equipment broker up there bought it from the bank and had it sitting in storage. So we got, everything we needed to open a brewery, basically pumps, hoses, all the fittings, all the tanks, everything for, less than, I think it was right at 50 grand or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And it's pretty small. You'd consider it not quite a nano system, but definitely a brew pub system. So we had that, bought that, had it shipped down here and put it in a storage unit in Lowell for 2 or 3 years while I was finishing school and building the space. Very cool. Yeah, since then we went from 16 barrels of fermentation capacity, and now we're up above 300.
Oh, wow.
So we've definitely grown quite a bit. Yeah, started out really, really small, got our foot in the door. And then we've just basically reinvested in equipment to match the pace of growth for the last 12 years. So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Gotta grow, right?
Right.
You said you went to University of California, Davis, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I heard the Master's Brewery program. It's pretty competitive, is it not?
It can be, yeah. So their in-person program, back whenever I was applying for it, had over a year-long wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a 2-year-long wait, so because they only do it from January to June. So I actually got accepted and then had to wait for a year for a following program to happen. So in that time that I was waiting to start, I just went and found a job in Colorado at Silverton Brewing.
Yeah.
In Silverton, Colorado. It was really, really tiny little brew pub, but really just wanted to get some professional experience and kind of get my foot in the water.
Yeah.
Just to try it out before we spent a bunch of money on the school and kind of, we didn't own the equipment at the time. So I was really just straight out of school trying to get experience and decide if it was really something I wanted to invest in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of went into that role with like how much can I take out of this? How much can I learn?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I kind of was technically an intern at that brewery, which, I was doing everything else. It was kind of not really a good title, but yeah, I just went to really learn. I'd been home brewing, and home brewing is one thing, but to actually get into the industry is kind of a different animal. So learned a lot, learned a whole lot of what not to do, what to do, learned a lot about the culture of brewing. Colorado's a really good spot to be, just because they have some of the highest numbers of breweries per capita in the country. So yeah. And they're kind of I would consider Colorado and a lot of Colorado breweries kind of the pioneers of the industry as well. Mm. Definitely a few of them there are considered pioneers of the industry.
Yeah. You kind of follow their footsteps here in Northwest Arkansas.
Trying to, borrow and bring what we can to Northwest Arkansas for sure.
Yeah. But I think you also kind of started your own thing. You have plenty of beers. If anyone's been to Fossil Cove, they know the vast array. Like, you just have a bunch of different beers. You have year-round beers, correct?
Right.
You have 8 of them.
Oh, it just we're down to probably 5 or 6 strict year-round beers right now. There's some that are tasting room only. We package 5 year-round beers right now. Okay. That's mostly be considered for distribution. We'll do cans and kegs in the market. And then in the tasting room, we've got 15 taps. So the year-round beers stay on tap, but then we also have, 7 to 9 taps that we rotate different seasonals and experimental beers through. So yeah, anytime you come in there, there's plenty to choose from.
Yeah, that's very cool. I was on your website and I was looking at some of the seasonal beers. One that caught my eye was the coffee IPA.
Yeah.
On the website, it's described as notes of roast coffee, milk chocolate, mulling spice, berries, fruit, and toast.
Yeah.
So my question really is just what are the limits when it comes to creativity when making a new beer?
Oh, anymore people try anything.
Yeah.
There's smoothie beers out there.
Really?
There's hazy IPAs, all kinds of there's 10,000 breweries in the country. And so people have really pushed the limits as far as what you can do with what's considered beer. In order, they're really just trying to make a name for themselves or find a niche or, be seen in an ever growing market. So there's not a lot of limits. Pretty much anything you can safely put in a beer, you could play around with. The coffee IPA specifically, I was gifted a coffee IPA by someone early on, probably 3 or 4 years into us owning the business, and decided I wanted to give it a try. Because it was something I had never really heard of. You could hear of coffee stouts and you hear of different coffee beers, but a coffee IPA was relatively unheard of. I had never heard of one, and so we gave it our own little twist. We've packaged it as a fall seasonal for 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah.
So
and it's still in the running every year. You bring it back.
Yeah. It's really good for the time that we have it in the fall. It just kind of fits the weather, the cooler days, cooler nights coming into the winter. It's something that people really look forward to. Probably wouldn't make it very well as a year-round beer.
Yeah.
Compared to the other beers we sell. Yeah, and it is a little bit on the different side. So it's not something someone's going to sit down and drink a couple of every day.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to have occasionally. So,
well, I'm definitely going to check that out come fall.
Yeah.
I saw it on the website and it really caught my eye.
Yep.
Something else that caught my eye is I did look at your year-round beers. A lot of them sound awesome. You got the Birch Avenue Blonde, IPA number 3.
Yep.
You got Blackberry Cream, sounds awesome. Then I came across one that was called The Rat.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of explain like why the Rat?
That's awesome.
Why the Rat?
That's fun. I actually had to put my foot down on that name because
Really?
yes, that was my name for that beer. So we used to have a beer called the Paleo Ale.
Okay.
That was our year-round pale ale. We came out with that the first couple months we were open, just to have a year-round pale ale on tap. And then we started canning it when we started distributing. It was always around with the kind of growth of the craft brewers' taste and the change in taste. American pale ales aren't necessarily the most popular beer style right now.
Yeah.
So its sales definitely waned, and we were kind of having a hard time making the right amount of it because with our system we either made too much or we couldn't make enough.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where we ran out of our inventory of printed cans, and with the sales trends and everything, we kind of just decided to retire it.
Yeah.
Which not everyone in town appreciated because some people it was their favorite beer.
Yeah.
But like we told them, it was like, you guys weren't drinking enough of it.
You weren't buying it.
So anyway, we retired it. We actually had a funeral for it.
Oh no.
Buried a can in the backyard. That was kind of some fun marketing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so it went away, but we still had that demand for an American pale ale.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than taking that beer and going draft only or whatever, we retired it and came up with this new beer. It was in collaboration with Pack Rat, the local outdoor store.
Yeah.
So we've always worked closely with them and sponsor and promote a lot of their events. We've always done pint nights with them. So I want to say we made this beer specifically for pint night.
Okay.
Which they do 3 or 4 of those in the spring and 3 or 4 in the fall on Wednesdays. So we came up with this beer as an alternative. Kind of, we're just playing around with another American Pale Ale recipe so we could still offer one. And had a lot of success with it at pint nights, and people were excited to have it in the tasting room. And one of the things we did to help promote it and keep it alive was we donate $1 from every pint to a local outdoor nonprofit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, it's got we have a tagline for it. Pale ale with a purpose.
Pale ale with a purpose.
Pale ale with a purpose. And so every quarter, we'll donate $1 from every pint sold in the tasting room to a specific nonprofit.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So
That's really cool.
Last year we ended up donating like almost $10,000. Maybe it was $11,000 or something like that in the course of the year. Yeah. So
the Rat is a pale ale with a purpose.
Pale ale with a purpose. Yeah. And then the Rat, obviously, Pack Rat.
Yeah.
If you go the little sign for it at the tasting room has the Pack Rat logo.
Okay.
So
I was just confused because on the website there's no can, there's no logo. It's just a pint glass.
Yeah.
And it just says the Rat on it. That's all there is.
It's funny. I definitely got not so much pushback, but a lot of do we really want to call this beer the Rat? And then customers come in and they're like, it almost sells the beer.
Yeah.
Honestly, because people are like, the Rat, what is the Rat? And so it gives the bartenders an opportunity to explain it to people, and explain the benevolent side of it and just gets people talking about it more than anything else.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of our more popular beers usually. I think people like the donation aspect. They like the beer. The beer's great. And it's just a good tasting room only option.
Okay, well, speaking of American Pale Ale, you said it's kind of not the most popular beer right now. The IPA right now,
yeah,
it's kind of hot.
It is, yeah, and IPAs have been hot since the mid 2000s, really.
Yeah,
that is one thing that really propelled the craft beer industry was just the style of IPA, double IPA, imperial IPA, triple IPA, anything IPA really. There's just a lot of what people call hop heads out there.
Yeah.
And they just love hoppy beers. It's really a good way to kind of showcase the creativity in beer. There's hundreds of different hop varieties. And then you mix that with all the different malts you can buy, all the different yeast strains you can use, and you get kind of an infinite combination of things to make different beers. So, really, it's a good way to get to know a brewery is to just go in and order their IPA.
Get their IPA.
I'm the same way. Usually the first beer I'll have at a new brewery I go to is an IPA.
Okay.
I can really tell a lot about the brewery and their quality just by trying their IPA.
Yeah.
Same can be said about a lager as well. It takes some know-how and some experience to do a good job. And it's just a really good way to judge a new brewery you're going to and get a feel for them. And it's a really fun way to play around with all the different ingredients because you can, mix and match hops. Most IPAs are going to have more than one hop variety in them. Mm-hmm. Man, they're fun. There's a reason they're popular.
There's a reason they're popular.
It's by far the number one style or category in craft beer. It has been for, probably close to 2 decades now. So yeah.
Well, I can see why they're popular. I'm an IPA fan. I'm also a fan of lagers. And you guys just dropped a new lager. Did you know?
We did. Okay. We finally did. Yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was very adamant that we weren't going to be a lager brewery from the very beginning. I was like, just let everybody else do that. You can go buy a Budweiser at the liquor store. We don't need to do it. It takes longer compared to an ale, which is most of the beers we produce and have produced are ales. They ferment a little bit warmer. They ferment a little bit quicker. So you can, if you're using the same tank, you can turn them around a little bit faster. Yeah. Lagers ferment cooler and they take longer. So you're, in a given calendar, you're going to make less lager than you are ale.
Okay.
So from a business standpoint, it's nice to make more in the same amount of time. But you kind of have to, from a business standpoint, you have to pay attention to the consumer's needs as well.
Yeah.
And there's just a really big demand for lager right now.
People just coming and asking for, what's your lager?
Right. Yeah, and it's industry wide. All the publications have been talking about it for a while. It's a pretty common thing for there to be like cyclical nature in the business, and people kind of go back to lagers. And given the maturity of the craft beer industry now, it's not really a surprise. So just to stay competitive and give people what they want, we're in the lager game now.
Hopped on the lager train.
Yeah. So we've been over the past year, we've made a couple different light lager styles, and then we also did an Oktoberfest this past fall that was really popular. Mm-hmm. So this year, 2024, we've got probably already 4 or 5 different lagers planned, and knowing that it's going to be a popular thing and there's a lot of demand for it. We developed what we hope will turn into a year-round offering, which is just our lager. Basically, it's not
the
style
lager.
Specific. It's not style specific. Kind of just a easy drinking light lager. Yeah. So
very cool. Well, I just tried the lager for the first time, and I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
All right,
it was pretty good.
Thanks.
Kind of want to transition into. I'm a fan of art and artwork.
Okay.
Something about Fossil Cove is their designs on their cans are insane. This one's pretty modest right here, but I got a different one right here. Your designs are awesome. I think that's something you're pretty known for. So I guess my question is like, who does the designs and like, where was that inspiration coming from?
Yeah. So in the beginning, we started out just as a small brew pub, basically. Mm-hmm. We did a little bit of keg distribution, but we didn't have a package option outside of kegs. And 2 or 3 years in, we started considering, what we were going to do. And the first idea was bottles, 6-pack bottles. All the different levels of packaging, though, kind of started getting tedious. And designing the 6-pack carrier, designing the label, case box, just all of it was getting kind of difficult. We weren't really comfortable with where we were headed, so we pivoted and moved into canning, which allowed us to get away with just one label.
Yeah,
and so we didn't have to worry about the complexity of the packaging side of things. About the time we moved into cans was. I'd already worked with a local artist named Nick Shoulders, who's built a good following as a musician here in the past 4 or 5 years. He's always been really talented artist, really talented musician. And so back then he was just coming out of high school, I think, or coming out of college. And so we sat down and we were introduced and started talking about things, and the dinosaur ideas started flowing. He's a big dinosaur nerd, and I mean, who doesn't like dinosaurs?
You're not the dinosaur nerd.
He is more of a dinosaur nerd than I am. Yeah. And so he had some, he's already had some art out, so it was kind of quirky and fun. And we were able to just really have a good time coming up with ideas for the different beers at the time. And he pumped out quite a few illustrations for us for the cans, and a few other projects. This is actually one. The artwork for the lager is actually something he did that we sat on for like 8 years.
Really?
And honestly, I forgot it even existed.
It's just been in the files.
It's just been in on our marketing director's hard drive for forever. And we were really, really stressing out about getting the image for this lager right. Mm-hmm. And we were kind of headed down another road. And then Andrew, our marketing guy, was like, "Hey, I have this drawing that we never did anything with." And we were like, "Yes, that's it. That's perfect." Yeah. And so, we were able to take and highlight one of the images in a kind of a landscape design he'd done and bring it to life. So, Nick got us started and got us into canning, and his drawings were what we used for a long time. And then he kind of transitioned out of the art world more into the musician role. And about the time that happened, we met and started working with Chad Maupin from Big Bot Design. Yeah. And so he's done the bulk of the work for the past 4 or 5 years. And, helps us out with pretty much anything we need that's a newer brand in that time. And so he's also really cool. He's got a good kind of comic book feel, and he was able to kind of take the dinosaur thing and use his style to create some fun stuff for us. And there's really not a whole lot of difference between the two. Yeah. Enough so that it didn't really cause us any issues with having an artist change, and people like both. And
people like both.
Yeah.
So it works.
Still fun and lots of dinosaurs.
Yeah. Lots of dinosaurs. I will say I am a little disappointed to find out that you're not a dinosaur nerd, because one of the questions I do have written down that people want to know, what is Ben Mills' favorite dinosaur? The people want to know.
Pachycephalosaurus.
The Pachycephalosaurus. That is a mouthful right there.
Yeah, it's the one with like the really hard domed skull. Yeah. And I'd like to say I'm hard-headed.
The ones that you kind of like run into each other?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, so Nick actually drew a Pachycephalosaurus skull for us that we use on some of the marketing.
You haven't used it on a beer yet?
We have not used it specifically for a beer. No, we have some skulls that we use for like hat designs and shirt designs and things that Nick drew up. And that's one of them. So, but no, it's not. It's definitely not beer specific. No,
it's not beer. It's just kind of random.
It's just a good image for the brewery. Yeah. But if I was to pick a favorite, it'd be the Pachycephalosaurus.
Pachycephalosaurus. That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, one thing I have noticed, similar how like you haven't used that on a beer yet. You also haven't used the Allosaurus on a beer yet, which is my favorite dinosaur. If you guys have any trouble picturing it, I did draw you a photo
That's
of
awesome.
one. If you want to probably show it to that camera,
that is
best.
Perfect.
That is free marketing right there.
Cool, thank you.
If you would like to use that on a beer can, he's smiling, he's happy. We could
probably turn it into a coloring page for the kids.
You probably could do that, or you could put it on your next big beer.
That's awesome.
Whatever you'd like to do, but you could keep that.
I appreciate it.
Frame it, whatever you want to do with it.
All right, we'll make you sign it.
I'll sign it, and just don't sell it. I better not see that on eBay.
Okay.
But
that's awesome.
I was kind of disappointed to see that.
There's
that on a can yet.
There's a lot of dinosaurs.
There's a lot
of
dinosaurs, aren't there?
Yeah.
But speaking of that, how did you land on the name Fossil Cove?
Oh, that was honestly my mom and stepdad were my original partners, and mom would just send me pages and pages of names. Yeah. Just ideas. Yeah, like 50 name ideas. And in between school and work and school, I stayed at their house. They live on Beaver Lake. So I stayed at their house a couple months here and there, and just would get really bored and didn't, go down to the lake. And they had the beach right there in front of their house has a whole lot of fossils. The area is all limestone. Yeah. So fossils are easy to come by. They're not real, crazy cool fossils. They're just like crinoids and there's little pieces, right? Yeah. But every once in a while,
fossils.
Every once in a while you'd find a horn coral, which is kind of cool looking. Cool. me and my dog at the time, we'd just go down there and hang out and look for fossils.
So Fossil Cove is like a real place.
Yes, it's not actually named Fossil Cove.
Okay.
But that was the one name that Mom sent me that stuck. And so we just went with that. So the name happened, and that got everything going. And then we kind of just leaned on artists to help us with the image after the day we opened. Mm-hmm. And without Nick or Chad, we didn't have an image.
Yeah.
Most people would have that all in their business plan. That is not something we did.
It's kind of an afterthought.
The image for everything really was, the beer came first for sure.
Beer came first?
Yeah, that was my, I didn't go to business school, so
yeah,
I was a biology major that made beer in his dorm room.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
the beer was the most important part for me.
Which I feel like is appropriate, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, it's the fundamental thing, right?
Yeah.
But you do have to put a cover on the book, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you came up with Fossil Cove.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
You mentioned that you started off, your stepdad and your mom were your partners.
Yeah.
How big was your team when you first started out?
Oh, it's just me.
Just you.
So yeah, my stepdad's an accountant. So he did the bookwork and kind of managed the money for the first year or two. And my mom was very helpful in everything that she helped out with.
Yeah.
And then, I basically day to day, I lived in a motorhome outside the building for 3 years. And
oh, wow.
I was the only person working. I was brewing beer and bartending. And then about 6 months in, we got a bartender and some brewing help. And now we're up to 20 plus employees usually on payroll.
Oh, wow.
So
that's pretty impressive right there. I came in a couple weeks ago and I emailed Alyssa. Alyssa is off the screen, but she is here with us today. Emailed her kind of talking about like potential, maybe run the idea of a podcast by her. Came in, talked with her. And she was awesome. Like she had a big smile on her face, kind of looked around. I've been to Fossil Cove a couple times. And my experiences with the employees have been nothing but great. So how do you get your employees to be so bought into your brand?
We try to keep it fun at the end of the day. I started it because I thought it was fun and I thought we could share that with everybody else. It's really, the only reason it's worked. So one of the main things that Alyssa does is whenever she took over the tasting room manager position, we worked really, really hard on the training program because it's really important for me when I go to other places, breweries especially, that staff be nice and, engaging and knowledgeable about the product, the beer that they're selling. And we've had some pretty bad experiences at other places.
Yeah.
We go to lots of breweries in the country and there's examples of good ones. There's examples of bad ones. And it's just really important to us to have great customer service.
Yeah.
So it's a really big part of the training program for bartenders and other staff as well. Everyone goes through pretty much the same original training path so that everyone's on the same page. And then the bartenders get a little extra dose because they're the face of the company.
They're the face, yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, we really stress the customer service side of things for sure.
Yeah. That's awesome. It doesn't sound like you guys are the only ones having fun. On TripAdvisor, if you look on TripAdvisor and look at Nightlife in Fayetteville list, you guys are ranked number 1 out of 23 locations.
Really?
All across Fayetteville.
We close at 9:00.
You guys close at 9:00 and you're ranked number 1 out of 23 different places.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
77% of your reviews on TripAdvisor are 5-star reviews.
Cool.
Yeah. So how do you keep customer satisfaction so high?
It goes into the staff up front, right? Making sure that they're trained properly, making sure they're knowledgeable, engaging. I'd like to say that we turned a basic metal warehouse into a fun place to hang out.
Yeah.
We got a lot of local art up in there and made it as comfortable as possible. And, did what we could to turn a metal building into a cool space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of that, man, we make good beer and, we just do the best we can to make sure people are having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really high on the list of things to pay attention to.
Yeah. I mean, you guys do make good beer. It does seem like a fun place. I've been there a couple of times and I've always left having a good time.
Good.
Really.
Yeah.
So it checks out. I would like to throw back real quick just because I do have it written down as a discussion topic. going back to the rat. You did talk about
this. Really made an impression on you.
This really did. The rat has stuck with me. It's all I could think about the last couple of days. But you mentioned how you raised $10,000 just through the rat.
Right.
I read somewhere that your Frost Fest raised almost $60,000 this past year.
Yes. So the past 2 years, last year, 23, we donated 50,000, and then this year we upped it to 55,000.
Oh, wow.
Off of it's a winter beer festival we host in February, the first Saturday in February that we've done it for. I think this was our 6th or 7th year.
And this is exclusively a Fossil Cove thing?
We started it, and then we've since started a nonprofit, Barley, Hops, and Water, that manages the festival. But Fossil Cove does a lot of the work and is a lot of the resources involved. But yeah, we started it kind of as a whim in 2017, I think. Yeah. 2016. Anyways, I went to a beer festival in St. Louis and I was like, we need to do this in Arkansas.
We need a beer festival in Arkansas.
We did it, man. And so we've grown it. We've had a couple different locations. Now it's at the Washington County Fairgrounds.
Oh, wow.
It has been the past 2 years. And that really helped us kind of step up our game a little bit and make things a little more comfortable for everyone. But we took a break during COVID for a couple of years, came back. A lot of beer events didn't come back after COVID. So it was nice I think we were probably one of the first big ones post-COVID. Last year we had 50-ish breweries. This year we were pushing 60 breweries.
Oh, wow.
And a couple thousand attendees.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just from the ticket sales and everything, we're able to cover the cost of the festival and then make a large donation to 5 different nonprofits in the area this year. Yeah.
You don't know what they are off the top of your head, do you?
Yeah. I mean, the Arkansas Brewers Guild is the main beneficiary.
Okay.
I'm on the board for the Brewers Guild. It's always been, a big important thing to me in the 12 years that we've been open, just because they're the advocacy group for the craft brewing as a whole in Arkansas. So they're a main beneficiary. And then we had the Arkansas Climbers Coalition, the Ozark Highlands Trail Association, Pedal It Forward, and Appleseeds. Appleseeds was our original beneficiary in 2016.
Yeah.
And so they've always, for the first 4 or 5 years, they were the only beneficiary. And then with the increase in revenue and everything, we wanted to kind of spread it out a little bit, include the Brewers Guild, and then outdoor recreation's our biggest, something that we support a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those of us that have been there the longest are pretty involved in the outdoor recreation community. So it's kind of just a way for us to give back to it. So
that's awesome that you guys are that involved with the community.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm on the, anyways, I'm on the board with the Arkansas Brewers Guild, but then outdoors wise, I'm a big hiker and trail runner. And then we've got one of the guys that works for us. He's on the board for the Arkansas Climbers Coalition. Okay. He's a big rock climber. Has always been super involved in the rock climbing community in Arkansas. And, there's a bunch of us like camping and hanging out and being outside. Yeah.
Drinking beer.
Drinking beer and being outside kind of go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. It's like peanut butter and jelly, is it not?
Right. So, yeah. We donate to a lot of the events, outdoor events in the area, and just makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have to ask you one question that I'm forced to ask you. 1989, Cher said the famous words, "If I could turn back the time, I could find a way." If you could turn back the time and tell something to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh, buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If there was something, that's a pretty good one right there.
I don't know what else I would tell my younger self.
There's nothing business related or any just life advice you would give.
Buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin.
No, 89, I was 2 years old, so I wouldn't tell 2-year-olds.
You don't have to go back to 89. That's just when Cher said the song lyric.
Going back to 2012, like when we first started, we got pretty lucky. We were so small and we've just kind of been able to grow up with the community. Maybe there's a couple things here and there, but like nothing super major. No, I think we got really lucky, honestly. Maybe that's what I would tell myself.
Yeah.
You're going to get really lucky.
Get really lucky.
but no, what we've created is what we can handle. And we haven't made there's a couple of mistakes I could take back, but no, for the most part, we've done a pretty good job of growing when we can and waiting when we can. And yeah.
Seems like you guys just kind of done the right thing, and it's really just worked out for you.
Yeah, I mean, we got lucky. Like I said, the growth of the community and the growth of the area this past decade is really what has contributed to the success of the brewery. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have the population growth and a lot of people moving here from areas with a large craft brewing scene, we may not have been as successful. Yeah, Arkansas definitely was lagging when it came to acceptance of craft beer. Yeah. And we, the first couple of years we were pretty slow. Like It was nice that we didn't overinvest. It was nice that we didn't have a whole lot of overhead that we weren't making money on. And we could just kind of make a small amount and be happy.
But just get by.
Yeah. And just, pay the bills. We had a small staff. We were profitable in the beginning. So it's pretty cool. But with the growth of the area and the demand for craft beer, we were able to just reinvest as needed and grow up with it. So,
I apologize. I wasn't able to grow up with your company. I'm 22, so in 2012 I was not drinking your beer. So I do apologize.
Oh, that's no
I was
worries.
not there to help you with the growth.
You're here now.
I'm here now, and I'm drinking the beer now. So it works out. Well, I think that's just about all the time we have today. I would like to thank you for coming on
to
our
thanks
podcast.
For having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank Fossil Cove for the great beer. Check out Fossil Cove. Order the Rat. Try out their new lager. Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely.